guys and gals, yours truly back again, and hope you guys have had a good one. I haven't seen you in a while. I've been kind of preoccupied with, well, my truck broke down and I got stomach flu, so I had to also get this hotline down to a buddy of mine to help me with the startup process of a game, and all that just took up a bunch of weeks. So here I am again, very happy to be back, and basically today got a lot of good stuff to go over with you. I want to show you what exactly my buddy Ken Head did in the head to get this game going. So great news was my wiring was correct, everything was done according to the schematic, all good. Just missed a few things, but that can happen, and that's fine. Like I said, I'll go over that more in detail. Want to go over some tips, maybe some tricks, and explaining a few things that have to do with this game in particular. And some of it can be applied to other games as well. So I hope I have something for the beginner to the expert here to keep you guys entertained on this episode. So, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this machine out, get in the back, and we'll start from the head and just kind of work our way forward into the cabinet, etc. So come follow me. Let's do this. Okay, here we are back at the scene of the crime in the head, and it's giving you a little overall view here, a little scan. I did put the zip ties back on the score wheels and that. So, getting to the nitty gritty here. I sent the machine in to a gentleman named Ken Head, and he went through the wiring to make sure everything was fine, as I mentioned before, and went through these three relays that you're seeing. I'm pointing with my wonderful pointer stick, which is just a screwdriver, and this is where the problem lied. What you have here is basically a daisy chain effect of what runs the score wheel. So basically you have the yellow wires here going, jumping, going over to here and there. So this is carrying the power over to each score wheel. And what we had was different switches not engaging, which wasn't powering the score wheel when a point was accrued, which in turn would not open up the EOS switch, which is just right down here, to break the circuit. So what would happen is, say you actuated a pop bumper, it would just lock on the pop bumper because the power wasn't going to the score wheel to that EOS switch to cut that off. So what he ended up doing was, where you see this switch right here, it was dirty, and he ended up filing that down a bit and getting it closer to initially get some power going from the 1 point to the 10-point relay. So that's easy enough. It's like, wow, EM-PINMAN, why didn't you spot that one? Well, I already had cleaned that switch, so you have to go back a little bit here. Of what's going on is that there was so much different wiring that had to be fixed that it created doubts in my mind as to what was causing what. Because when you just have so much damage and so many repairs, sometimes it's good just to step back and get a second opinion from someone else to make sure you're not missing something or overthinking something. So having that other set of eyeballs really comes in handy. So it got a little bit more complicated when we got to the 10-point relay right here, because right where the screwdriver is here, that switch, as you can see, or can't see, it's hard, there's been solder applied to both ends of the contacts. The contacts were spinning and loose in there, were not creating a current. So that's very frustrating. Generally stuff like that causes intermittent issues where sometimes you get power, sometimes you don't. In this case, we just weren't getting anything. And it's frustrating after you clean switches and go through stuff, and you could say, well, why don't you just test the different switches? But there's so many of them. I mean, what are you going to do? Go through every single switch, test everything? I guess if you really didn't know where to start, you could do that. But see, that wasn't it. So we had that problem with the 1-point relay, and we had the 10-point relay with the spinning contacts. Then we go to the 100-point relay here, and basically what we have is in here, hard to see, of course, there's another switch with another set of contacts that were spinning. So he had to get in there with the soldering iron. I guess he had a little pinpoint one and apply the solder, with these on and stuff. Pretty much a pain, a big time pain. I mean, if you wanted to do it a little bit neater and that, you'd really have to take these off and tear apart the relays and that. But he just did it with them on there, and it worked. I mean, it's a little bit messy. Some of the solder ran down and that, but it did the job, and that's the main thing. So, once again, 3 different things going on here that was causing the thing not to have power in that, after all this other stuff that you see that we did with, repairing all these wires. So if you ever run into an issue where you just have so much damage like this, my recommendation is getting that other guy in there to help you. Just, walk you through some stuff and to make sure that basically you're not losing your mind and you did do everything right that you were supposed to. So that's it in a nutshell there. So now it's working fine. Everything's great. Power to the squirrel wheels. Problem solved. So I will put in the description below Ken Head's contact information. So if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas and you have a pinball machine that has some really weird wiring issues, and he even fixed up one that had a fire in the head and rebuilt wires and that on it. He's tried to save different machines that have a lot of wire damage. He was kind of surprised with this one that I did as much work as I did, because he had a 1974 Gottlieb Sky Jump that he ended up trashing, that the wires were really bad in the head, and he just didn't want to even deal with it. So you got to remember, when there's machines with this much damage, for someone to really go through and do something like this, it's kind of rare. Most people would just part this out. But I do not like doing that, and Ken really doesn't like doing that. So there you go. All right, next thing I'm going to get into here is adding a bell. Now, as you know, this game only had the 1 bell for the 10 and 100 points and had nothing for the 1 point. So my suggestion is, if you ever run across a machine that only has 1 bell, definitely put 2 bells in it. It really makes a big difference, as you'll see once I get the gameplay video up on this game. So here's your 1-point relay. I'm just going to show you basically really quickly how to set that up. So you have an extra bell, like the one that we put on here, which was a Gottlieb 3-inch that I had, an extra one. And it's really simple. This is just pretty much for the beginners. Everyone else knows this. You have your coil lugs here to your 1 point. Now if you're going to add it to whatever, your 10 point, 100 point, then you'd put it in accordingly. But you just solder on the wires and go from the bell to the coil of that relay and just run it on down. I mean, that's what this is here with the wires. And just go connect it to your coil down here and you're done. It's really that simple if you want to add a bell to your game. I just have to say, some people say, oh, maybe this game should have 3 bells. I've heard that. But you know what? We already have the other bell connected from the factory to the 10s and the 100s. And you'd have to disconnect the, from the relays here, the contact that's running the bell on one or the other, and then decide what size bell you wanted to go with that. But honestly, my Bally Expressway only has 2 bells, and that's from the factory. That's more than enough. And once you get the we play a game here, you're going to see that there's enough noise being made with just 2 bells. You don't need 3, it's overkill. I guess on a closing note with the bell here, just make sure with whatever bell you're using, if it's the correct one or you're using one, like in this case a Gottlieb for a Williams, that you have the correct coil in there. As you can see, this coil here says Gottlieb on the side. Gottlieb ran 24 volts. A lot of Williams games ran 50 volt coils. Those are pretty much the two that you're going to be contending with. But on this game, believe it in 66, they ran a 24 volt system. So it worked out fine. I did not have to change out for Williams coils. The Gottlieb coils will work just fine in this game. So that's the main thing just to remember. Are you running a 50 volt game or a 24 volt game? Make sure your coils match up accordingly. That pretty much does it for the bell. Onward.
All right, now we're in the cabinet, and I had talked about putting a new electrical cord in and that, and just want to talk about a product I use to help with making sure the electrical connections were secure from basically anyone getting shocked. So hard to tell here, but I'll get my little pointer stick in there. That's the wire from the electrical cord, and there's some stuff that I put on there called liquid tape, and I don't know if you can see right down here. It's the first time I've used this stuff, but that's a shrink wrap piece of tape, and what happened was this connection, as you can see, is very short, and when I put the shrink tape on and I went to go basically solder the connection of the wire here, it heated up the wire so bad that it shrunk the tape prematurely down below where I was supposed to slide it on to my new connection. So I figured, well, hey, I've heard about this stuff called liquid tape. I never used it before. Let's see how this goes. So basically, you just kind of goop it on. Here's the bottle here. Runs about 10 bucks a bottle. I'll put a link in a description, and then you can kind of see where to pick up a bottle of this stuff. So it's a 4-ounce bottle, as you can see from what it says. And it has its own brush, and you just basically apply it with the brush, and it doesn't have a dry time or anything, but I'd give it 12 hours. And basically what it does is it forms like a rubber coating. So the bare wire will be protected from any corrosion, and as far as you touching it and getting shocked, chances of that are pretty nil. Now, I not only put it on there, but here's the on-off switch, and I did put it on the tabs here as well. Get the camera in on that. Usually I do a shrink thing on that too, but once again the wire was kind of short on the bend here, as you can see. So yeah, I just figured, hey, I have this stuff, let's try it on that as well. So it works, it's fine. You might have to do 2 coats, so I'd do a coat one night, let it sit overnight, and then go ahead and put on a second coat, and that'll be plenty. And yeah, is it worth it? Sure, why not? I mean, when you have, you know, a problem where you got shrink tape and your connections are just too close together and your shrink tape will probably prematurely shrink before you can move it, it's a good idea to have this stuff. So I'm glad I bought it, and just wanted to share that with you, and hopefully it helps you out as well. All right, well, we're still kind of in the general area and seeing we're in the cabinet. I might as well talk about the next thing, which is adding a on-off switch power cord along with the switch. Something I really loved, and definitely would do it again on this game. I just love being able to have a switch to turn on and off the game rather than just you know, beating the bottom of the cabinet. So anyway, you can see how I hooked up the wire here, and it goes down, it just connects with the power, and then it loops down here
to the on-off switch, and the power just goes back and loops over. So it's a pretty basic thing, basic electrical. Should feel comfortable with that. As far as the wire itself, as you can see here, I have a bundle of spare wire, and what I do is to get this wire, and it's basically the 3-wire, so it has a ground in it, is I cut off the old one from the game, which is generally damaged, and I save them. So that's what this is, and I have a bunch of these, so saving those are important because that will get you the wire you need to make this happen. Now if you're replacing a 2-wire one, that's probably the original one, it's not going to work for you on this application, because basically you want to be able to make sure it has a 3rd wire, so it has the ground right here. You can see the green wire coming out there. You want to make sure that your coin there is, or your plate is grounded. Having a coin door, I guess is where I was going with it, having that grounded as well is a good thing too. And basically what I do is I run an extra ground from here, and I'll run it on over through here, and then generally maybe attach it to the nut on the coin door trim, and that'll ground the coin door. I have not done that with this game yet, but I will. I just need to get around to it. It's easy peasy. Just need 1 wire for that, and I'll just run a spare green one. Now, as far as the on-off switch and the plate, that I bought off of eBay, and it was, $10. And the used switch worked fine. The plate's from the 70s. So just look for that on eBay as far as that goes. Now, if you need a replacement switch, Pinball Resource has one. You can buy a toggle switch from them. That particular plate they will not have. As far as doing the block, I obviously had to cut a block here at a 3/4 inch pine, and I just did it basically, almost as wide as a plate, a little bit wider. And then as far as drilling the holes, I'll show you pictures of what went on here. Where the switch goes through the block, that's a 3/4 inch hole that you drill with a hole saw. And then for the cabinet wood itself here, you're going to use a 1 3/4 inch, and that'll get you your bigger hole on the bottom. And then as far as the block, I just glued it in. You can use wood glue or liquid nails or whatever you want. The screws are just brand new. They're number 10 1/2 inch Phillips. That's pretty much it. It's really basic to put a switch on these and just be able to turn it on and off easily. If it was a cherry game, I might think twice about it, because everyone always frowns about putting a hole in the cabinet. Well, not everyone, but some people. But on this game, I didn't feel badly about it, and I'm glad I did.
All right, next stop is basically the play field and under the play field. I wanted to talk about the ball gate on this game specifically. First off, I had an issue with this right here, which is the little wire that goes up and down to open up the gate. Basically, it was loose, had slack in it, and was not causing the gate to open when the relay was actuated. So the quick fix I did on that was, if you look underneath the play field here where the relay is, and you see where my pointer stick is there, that is the little actuating bar there in which the wire goes wrapping around to pull that gate open. And if you look, there's a little wood piece there that I put in, and it was basically like a matchstick. Woodsy is one brand, but you can just use regular matchsticks you can pick up at Walmart. And I just cut a piece off. I cleaned the rod there, the steel rod, and put some E6000 glue to glue on that piece of wood. And what it did, it's probably hard to see, is that it takes up the slack that was there between the rod and that actuating arm. And that was a quick fix. It's going to basically last
I don't know, 20 years, forever, whatever. The gate works great now because that slack is now gone. The other way you could do that, if you're having the same kind of issue and you wanted a more permanent fix, is you can come up here to the top part. I would not mess with the wire on the bottom part, but the top part just kind of looped around the top here. I think you can kind of see it there. And what I'd have to do is basically cut where it loops around the little hook wire there and go and rebend from there to get the extra slack. But I had already taken that wire out and cleaned and repaired that relay, and I really didn't feel like taking it out again. So I just decided to do that quick fix on it, and it works great. So that's as far as I'm going with it for now. You can make your own choice. Now, as far as the ball gate itself, I just wanted to mention something that's specific to this game. Is that there's something that's called a carryover feature, which involves this ball gate. Now, in 60s games, a carryover feature was different and was very unique from game to game. And I know Williams had them, Bally had them, I'm sure Gottlieb had them, who knows, maybe even Chicago Coin. But on this one, what it is that if you have an end of the game and you did not hit the ball gate, in other words, go through it to get that letter, which is going to advance to the next letter by going through the gate when it's open. If you did not get that, it will stay on even after the game, and when you start a new game, it'll be on. So you don't have to get the AB sequence. It's already lit up on that. Now, the AB sequence will reset for lighting the pop bumpers themselves, but for the gate feature, you won't have to hit those to reset that because it's already on from the last game. And I guess what, in this particular, why they did that was kind of an attract feature where, say, the last guy who played it or a new guy steps up and he looks and goes, oh wow, the gate's already open. That gives me an advantage, so maybe I'll go ahead and pop in my coin and play this game because now I have this little advantage here, a leftover, so to speak. Like I said, this is normal for the game. There are a lot of people who own this game, and I've seen it listed on Pinside where they're thinking that there's something wrong with the game, that doesn't reset for every game. Now, I've heard of people disabled that. There's a green jumper wire you could just disconnect and that'll stop that feature. Personally, on this game, I'm going to keep it because it's part of what the factory wanted, and I really don't feel it gives an unfair advantage to having that feature, that carryover feature. So, you know, there's times I could play a game and not get a ball through a gate. I mean, it's just that's how it is. Some games are tougher than others. So anyway, I wanted to point that out so people who end up owning, you know, a game like this, a hotline, doesn't think that there's something broken on their game. That's just normal. Like I said, other games have carryover features that do different things. This is just what this game does. So there you go.
Folks, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you found something fun and interesting in it. Just hoping that the entertainment value is there, and looking forward to getting out the next video to you real soon because it's going to be the gameplay on this machine. So hopefully within a day or so I'll have that out. It's already been shot, cut, ready to go. So just want to make sure this one got out first as it's the last one in the series. And anyway, I'm just going to catch you on the next video. So you guys have a good one and go play some old time pinball, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.